What's up, everybody? This is Dustin from the Funky Beatdown channel, and I'm going to be reviewing a book. For those of you who still read physical books, I thought this was a no-brainer to review these hip-hop books. The book I'm talking about is Check the Technique, and its follow-up, Check the Technique Volume 2. And these books were written by Brian Coleman, who's a music writer for Vibe magazine, Spin magazine, and the author took it upon himself to get a behind-the-scenes look at some of the most iconic hip-hop albums in the genre. And hip-hop doesn't really have a lot of behind-the-scenes stories written down, and this is kind of like, these books are kind of like getting those stories out there so people understand what the mindset was with the artists when they were making the albums. And a lot of other genres of music like rock and roll and soul have documented stories written down, but hip-hop was lacking in a lot of that in that department. And basically the books go something like the artists tell a story of how they became the artists that they are, how they got together in the studio, and they go track by track and tell, like, oh, this track has this sample on it, or this is how this came together. And it's really interesting if you're really into behind the scenes stories about albums that you know and familiar things, and I think you'll find a lot of enjoyment out of this book. I know I did. All the stories were very interesting, very fascinating. Some albums that they reviewed in Check the Technique I had never heard. I had heard of them, but I had never heard the actual album in its entirety. I had actually, a good example of that is the Ghetto Boys album with My Mind's Playing Tricks on Me. I know that song, but I've never listened to the whole album, and this book breaks it down. I forgot to tell you that the artists themselves tell the story. The rap groups or the rap artists tell the story. It's not just told by somebody else. Brian Coleman interviewed the actual sources of the actual albums, so it's not like, you know, stories that are made up or anything. This is kind of a short review. I'm not gonna give anything away from the book or the books. This I just thought it would make sense to talk about these books and recommend them. I don't know, they're easy to find on Amazon. They're not too expensive. I think the book is let me see here. The book is like let me see here. Well, it's $22, so not that expensive. So if you're into hip hop and you like hearing about behind the scenes stories about music in general, I recommend that you pick up this book. It is totally a page turner. You're going to be thoroughly enjoyed. So that's that review. Sorry if it was a little too short.